Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining today's Tuesday Talks webinar. My name is Susan Brown, the Associate Director of Parent and Family Programs. It's our pleasure to be hosting a webinar on today's topic, NUterm, Academic Opportunity for Rising Sophomores. Today, you'll be hearing from Robin Golden. She is the Associate Director of Housing Services, Brock Waltz, Assistant Director of Scholarships and Student Financial Services, and Nora Salmon. She is the Senior Global Experience Advisor for the Global Experience Office. During today's talk, we invite you to ask questions. You will notice on the screen there's a Q&A pod on the right-hand side of the screen. At the end of our presentation, we'll be taking questions, so feel free to type any of them in. So welcome, everyone. I'm going to turn it over to Robin Golden, who is going to start us off today.
Good afternoon, everyone. What you can see on your screen is what we're going to talk about for the next 35 minutes before we take your questions. So on the agenda today, talking about what is NUterm, giving you a little bit of an overview about what we mean when we talk about this specific academic opportunity for your current first-year, rising second-year students. We'll talk about housing and meal plan options that are specific for NUterm. And then we'll talk about some global opportunities that can happen during the NUterm time frame. We'll wrap up talking about what financial support is in place for you and your students should they choose to participate in any NUterm opportunity. And then, again, we'll take questions and answers at the end. Do feel free to type them in as we go along, and we will get to those at the end of the program. So first up, what is NUterm? So NUterm is concurrent with Summer Session 1, which runs between May and June. So if you hear your student talk about either Summer 1 or NUterm, they're happening at the same time. NUterm is just a specific opportunity for current first-year students to continue that first-year experience. They have the opportunity to earn up to 8 academic credits, either through online classes, in-person classes, some of the global experiences that we're going to talk about. They may add in research or have the opportunity to explore some, courses within their major or maybe even outside of their major that they wouldn't otherwise have time to do in a fall or spring semester. Currently, your student has the opportunity to discuss with their advisor whether any of these NUterm experiences are right for them. Specifically here in this session, we can't address each of those specific things for your specific student in their specific program. We're just going to talk in general about NUterm, but know that your student does have the opportunity currently to have those conversations with their academic advisor. By participating in NUterm, some of the things that your student may gather is some flexibility in their degree program. Depending on their program of study, they may have the opportunity to add an additional co-op, to take some additional classes in their program that they wouldn't otherwise be able to fit into their schedule, perhaps even finish their degree sooner or add in a minor. So there's lots of benefits potentially for your student to participate in the NUterm experience. In addition to those academics, there are additionally events and activities planned for these students to happen both on and off campus. In some recent years, there have been trips to New York City, as well as things here such as Red Sox games or other events happening in Boston targeted for this group of students specifically. So for housing, should your student choose to participate in any of those on-campus opportunities, so whether they're taking classes here, whether they're participating in research that's on campus, they're going to be required to live in university housing. So if they're a full-time student, that 8 credits, they will be required to live here. The applications are available now, but if your student is still exploring whether this is the right opportunity for them, the priority deadline is not until April 3rd. So they have an entire month to really figure that out with their advisor and decide what they're going to do. There is no deposit required since we do require them to live here as a continuation of that first year experience. All students who are participating in NUterm, so any current first-year student staying here for that Summer 1, the May-June period, will be living together in International Village, which is one of our largest residential hall communities. In International Village, there are both singles and doubles in semi-private suite configurations where they'll share a bathroom with another room. The building features a fitness center and one of the main residential dining halls. So they'll all be living there as a cohort so that they can benefit from some of that programming and really continue on in this first-year experience. All of your students will participate in what we call move to from, unless they're already living in a room in International Village that they can stay in. They will move from their current space, so wherever they're living right now this term, over to International Village. There's no period of time where we require them to move out, move off campus and then come back. We facilitate their move to happen right from one space to another. So we do provide moving bins for them. On occasion, we're able to provide some additional moving support. And that will happen anytime between April 28th and May 5th. It's that week between the end of spring semester and the start of the summer one new term semester. And so we really ask that you and your student do not make travel plans that will take them away for that week, because when we have their space available, they'll be given the date when they're going to move. Most of the moves happen the weekend of May 4th and 5th, but some students, particularly those who are currently living in upperclassmen buildings. So if your student was an NUN student who just moved here to the Boston campus in January, there's a good chance that they may need to move prior to that weekend. And so again, we just ask that you don't make travel plans until your student is notified of their specific move date. And then move out for new term is June 25th, unless they are staying on for a summer 2 class or research experience, in which case, again, they would move from one space to another. International Village does not remain open for summer 2. Because International Village does not have kitchens, there is a required meal plan, and so students will automatically be enrolled in the 15 meals per week plan. Just like the academic year for students in non-apartment style buildings, they can increase to the 19 or decrease to the 10, but 10 is the minimum allowed required meal plan. There's additional information about the meal plans if you're unfamiliar with them on the Husky Card website. And now I will turn it over to Nora.
Hi everyone, this is Nora from the Global Experience Office. So an additional option for students is to participate in a new term experience abroad on either a Dialogue of Civilizations program, which is an international faculty-led program, or a study abroad experience at one of Northeastern's many partner universities. So Northeastern is recognized for being an innovator in the field of international education. The president of Northeastern has set a goal to provide 100% of students with some form of a global experience. So new term is the first term that students can participate in a dialogue, which is a faculty-led program, or a traditional study abroad program, as students must complete 2 successful Northeastern semesters in order to participate on these programs. Northeastern is a unique university in that while studying abroad, students earn Northeastern credit. There's no transfer credit involved, and at the GEO office, we assist students in finding courses they need to take for their degree. Global experiences are really viewed as a resume builder. Students are often connected with international organizations. They can participate in internships for credit, make faculty connections both with Northeastern faculty and with international faculty. And study abroad experiences are a great way to enhance your chances of obtaining the next desired co-op or your first desired co-op. While studying abroad, students develop a global perspective, meet and make connections with people all over the world, and in some cases, depending on where you go, learn a new language or enhance your language skills. While studying abroad during new term, financial aid applies, and GEO offers scholarships, grants, and fellowships in different varying forms and award amounts. So I'll talk specifically about Dialogue of Civilizations, which are faculty-led programs offered during Summer 1 or Summer 2, so they fit within the new term time frame. Northeastern faculty lead a group of 10 to 30 students, it varies by programs, to different locations around the world. For this upcoming summer, summer 2019, about 1,400 students will be going on 75 different dialogues, so it's the most offered than in previous years, which is very exciting. If you're wondering why dialogues are named this, it's because they were developed as programs that tackle current issues around the world, where students discuss and reflect on these topics with internationals in the field. Applications for dialogue closed on February 1st. However, if you have a student who applied or is interested in applying in the future, here is some additional information about dialogues. Northeastern faculty across all disciplines lead programs in their area of expertise. On dialogue, students have the opportunities to visit international organizations, conduct project work, network, develop faculty relationships, and experience life in a different culture. On dialogue, students can take courses for their major or elective supporting courses for their degree. An example is an engineering student could take 2 engineering courses on a dialogue or take 2 courses in arts to fulfill the arts requirement of their degree. So students can take programs either within their major or minor specific. They're offered within the summer NUterm period, and they're range from 4 to 6 weeks long. Some are 30 days in country and some are longer. Some have a hybrid where you do half here at Northeastern and then half abroad, and you earn 8 credits taking 2 courses. So the cost of the dialogue is Northeastern tuition for 8 credits plus a dialogue fee. This fee includes your housing while in country, your airfare to and from the destination, and any excursions, so any entrance fees, transportation, and some meals are included while in country, and it also includes an emergency and support fee. I'm going to pause for a second and let Robin add in a little more about housing.
Great. As Nora was talking about, your dialogue fees would include any housing required for the dialogues, whether that's while you're on site or some dialogues require a period of housing here on the Boston campus prior to departure. If your student requires some housing prior to that time, we have what we call consolidation options that would be available to your student for an additional fee.
Thank you, Robin. So additionally, financial aid, if you receive that, typically does apply while studying abroad. We'll talk more in a minute on financial aid. The Dialogue of Civilizations program are very well structured. There's no independent travel during the program time, and students it's really a cohort model where they travel as a group. Their classes range from, they're not necessarily sitting in a classroom. It could be excursions, visiting partners, or going to a dam somewhere and calculating things. So it's very experiential in true Northeastern form. So here are some sample dialogues. This summer, 2019, we have our first mathematics dialogue in Budapest, Hungary. Another example is a program to Spain to learn language and culture of different parts throughout Spain. And on this program, for example, students live with a host family. We have programs in India focusing on entrepreneurship. This summer, we do have 2 programs in New Zealand focusing on fluid mechanics for mechanical engineering students. Another fun and exciting example is Iceland. There's a program that focuses on volcanic and glacial studies. So next I'll talk about what we refer to as traditional study abroad. So in addition to dialogues, Northeastern had partner universities throughout the world. Northeastern partner universities are top-ranking universities of equal standing to Northeastern. On traditional study abroad programs, students take 2 courses for 8 or 6 credits depending on the host university's credit system. Students enroll with Northeastern students, students from other universities across the U.S., or from students across the world. And the biggest difference is they learn from international faculty versus Northeastern faculty. Students while studying abroad earn Northeastern credit at a host university. And for this, applications are still open. Many applications close on March 1st, but others are open till the end of March, and there still is time to apply for a study abroad. While studying abroad, you do pay Northeastern tuition the same way as if you were here taking classes on campus, and then non-academic fees vary by program, so your housing you would pay depending on the location. Financial aid will apply in most cases. And for study abroad, we also have GEO scholarships and grants available. If your student does not know a particular language or does not have a particular level in that language, most opportunities have courses in English. Housing, like I said, varies by program, but it's all different types. So students could live in a dorm at an international university, student apartments, or live with a host family. Here are just a few of many sample universities. We have about 125 partners. So London School of Economics is an extremely popular program for Northeastern students. We have programs in Hong Kong, Singapore, as well as the University of Sydney, and many more. So although your student will be abroad, there are many support systems in place to ensure your student has a supported departure and experience abroad. The GEO office has a dedicated staff with faculty advisors to help develop the programs, ensure the health and safety of your programs and your student, and vet programs. While studying abroad, WorldAware is a service available to all students that serves as a 24-hour emergency response system to help students with any medical or mental health concerns. GEO advisors assist students with the application process, visa process, and the host pre-departure orientations for students to successfully prepare them for their time abroad. Resources that students can access on campus, which is, some are WeCare, University Health and Counseling Services, the Disability Resource Center, and Title IX. All of these organizations at Northeastern participate in pre-departure orientations and are resources to students while studying abroad. So here are some upcoming deadline and events. So our dialogue deadline was extended for some programs this year from February 1st to February 15th, and the applications are now closed. Students are meeting with faculty and working with different group orientations, and then we have a huge orientation for all 1,400 students on March 12th. Traditional applications are still open. Many close on March 1st, but some will be extended. And then the students' orientation for that portion will be on April 17th. We have a full stacked calendar on our website at northeastern.edu/geo. So the homepage, you'll find a calendar. We probably have about 2 events a day. So if your students are interested, please have them check that out. And additionally, for parents who are looking for also you to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Northeastern Geo. And that's it from me. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. This is Brock with the Financial Aid Office. Next up, we're going to take a few moments to discuss our financial aid programs and available support during new term. We are fully dedicated to maintaining our financial commitment while your student takes advantage of all that Northeastern has to offer, including new term. A student's financial aid and scholarships fully support enrollment in this unique program. Eligibility is based ultimately on the number of credits your student takes, as well as the type of financial assistance your student receives. Students who are recipients of need-based Northeastern University grant or merit scholarship funding for the current academic year will be eligible to receive a prorated portion of their grant or scholarship to assist with the cost during new term. Federal aid, however, works a little differently, as there are maximum dollar amounts that your student may receive each academic year. If your student has remaining federal aid eligibility for the year, they will receive a prorated portion of those funds for new term. However, if your student has exhausted their need-based federal aid eligibility between the fall and spring semesters, supplemental aid is available through a one-time replacement fund. Before we take a deeper dive into financial support for new term and view a sample case study, I want to mention some specific resources that can help you and your student navigate financial support and estimated costs for new term. Each student here at Northeastern is assigned a designated financial aid counselor, which is your student's assigned liaison to our office. Your student's counselor is a great resource and can help you navigate the forms, terminology, and numbers associated with financial aid. Additionally, our website includes some great information around financial support for new term, additional sample case studies, and information around payment and financing options. Here we have a sample financial aid award for a student who participates in new term. In addition to including the type of financial aid the student is receiving, as well as their eligibility during the fall and spring semester, this example also outlines the student's aid eligibility when taking 8 academic credits during new term, which is noted on the far right column. Please keep in mind this is just an example, but hopefully it will help to provide some additional clarification around financial support. As part of their financial aid package, you'll see in the first 2 rows that this student has been awarded the Dean's Scholarship and need-based Northeastern University grant. As these are institutional grants and scholarships, the student is eligible to receive a prorated portion of each of these funds to assist with new term costs. As the student is taking 8 credits, the amount they receive in these funds is equivalent to 1/2 of the full semester dollar amount. In addition, this student is also a recipient of federal financial aid and has remaining eligibility through the federal work-study programs during new term. However, as we mentioned just a moment ago, the student has exhausted their need-based federal eligibility between the fall and spring semesters in the federal subsidized loan. As a result, the student will receive one-time supplemental funding in the amount of $875, which is reflected in the NUterm replacement award. One additional note I wanted to make before we continue in our case study is around the federal work-study program. While this student is eligible to receive federal work-study programs during NUterm, these funds are not applied as a credit to the student's account and cannot be used if the student participates in a dialogue of civilizations. Taking our case study one step further, we have estimated costs for NUterm. Please note that students are billed per semester at Northeastern, and NUterm billing statements will be available early to mid-April. The estimated direct costs here reflect included tuition for 8 academic credits, as well as mandatory fees that are assessed during NUterm. The room and board costs reflected here are based on a semi-private enhanced double in International Village and a 15-meal plan. However, as Robin mentioned earlier, although students are automatically assigned to a 15-meal plan, they have the option to go up to a 19 or down to a 10. Please keep in mind this is just one sample case study for our exciting NUterm program. If you're interested in viewing additional case studies or have specific questions around your financial aid eligibility, please be sure to visit our website, studentfinance.northeastern.edu/NUterm, or contact our office directly. Last but not least, we wanted to take a few moments to discuss available payment and financing options. First and foremost, please note that there is no one way to finance your education at Northeastern. Students and families may choose to utilize a number of payment and financing options, and we always encourage families to find the one that best meets their needs. And again, as you consider the various payment and financing options, or would like to see an estimated cost based on your student's financial aid award, please don't hesitate to contact our office. Similar to the fall and spring semesters, students and families may choose to use current family income and savings for any NUterm costs that exceed a student's awarded financial aid assistance. Additionally, if you are interested in making an international payment to the university, please be sure to take advantage of Flywire, which allows you to track your payment from start to finish. Payments via Flywire can be made from both the student and parent My Northeastern portals. Under Student Portal, Make an International Payment link is located under Services and Links in the Student Financial Services category or box. For the Parent Portal, you would select Services and Links, Make an International Payment under View Your Student's Financial and Academic Records. In addition to using current family income and savings, there are also a number of supplemental loan programs available to those who qualify. These loan programs may include private student or parent loans, or the Federal Direct Parent Plus loan. Please note that if your student is considering a private loan, they will often need a credit-worthy cosigner. If you are interested in learning more about supplemental loan options, we encourage families to visit our website, which can be a great starting point for researching available loan programs, or contact our office or the lender directly to learn more about the loan parameters and eligibility. The university is in the process, or has recently changed the administrator for our payment plan, and you will now be able to take out a payment plan for the summer through tuition management systems, with more information located on our website. Finally, we've included some contact information and website information for our offices here if you should have further questions for any particular area. And with that, I think our official end of the webinar is reached, and we are open to questions.
Yes, thank you everyone for my presenters here for talking about NUterm with us today. At this time, we will begin to take questions. As I mentioned earlier, you can type them in to the Q&A screen on the right side, and we'll be happy to take as many questions as we can. So I'm going to start off from housing ones. Robin, you had mentioned that during NUterm, students will be living in IND. If they are currently already in IND, what are the odds that they can stay in the same room?
That's a great question. So we won't know the exact number of students participating in NUterm until closer to that April 3rd deadline, and so it's really not until April that we are able to assess how much of International Village we will use. We try to keep all students in their same space if at all possible. It's easier for the student and it's easier for us. So we do that in every instance when we can. So there are very good chances that if they live there that they will remain in their same space, although it's not necessarily guaranteed.
So what if a student is out of the state actually during that move-in time? Can a parent help and assist with the move-in at all?
No. So if the student does book travel, what we would recommend, unfortunately, is that if you can't be here during that period of time when they need to move, then they need to vacate their current space prior to leaving campus. So, for example, if your student is living in Stetson East and they need to be moved to International Village, say on May 4th, but you've booked some travel and they're going to be away and not returning until May 7th or May 8th. At what time they leave campus, they would need to remove all of their belongings from Stetson East, and then when they return to campus on, say, May 8th, they would move directly into their space in International Village. They would not be able to leave their belongings into Stetson East until they return May 8th, because that hall will be closed by that time.
You mentioned, Robin, that students have to live in housing during that time, but is there any exemption to that? Exceptions?
Sure. Just like the academic year, we offer a residency waiver option. So that form is available on our website. Generally, students are approved for a NUterm residency waiver if they live in a commutable distance to campus. And perhaps they don't want to take advantage of that during the academic year, but during summer, since they're only taking a smaller number of classes, they may wish to participate, through that waiver just for NUterm. And so we do offer NUterm only waivers that don't impact the academic year.
So a question for you, Brock. We have a parent asking, and I know you spoke about the scholarships. It does apply to NUterm, right? They can use their assistance?
Yes. Regular Northeastern University scholarships that you are receiving for the fall and spring semesters of your freshman year are applicable directly in proportion to the number of credits that you take for NUterm. So it's assumed a student will be taking 8 academic credits for NUterm, in which case they would receive 1/2 of their regular semesterly amount of scholarship funding. For instance, if a student is receiving $10,000 in Dean Scholarship funding for a fall or spring semester, they could expect to receive $5,000 in Dean Scholarship funding for NUterm if taking 8 academic credits. Similarly, for the Northeastern University grant, if a student is receiving need-based funding as opposed to merit-based funding, they should expect to receive approximately 1/2 of their regular semesterly Northeastern University grant funding for 8 academic credits.
So, Nora, I think this question might apply to you. It says, does my student make his own flight arrangements? They are going to a global experience in Russia.
Oh, it depends on the global experience. So for Dialogue of Civilizations, there's a group flight for every program this summer, and students would not make their own flight arrangements. An agent is booking all the students' flight for Dialogues. On a traditional study abroad program, the students do book their own flights based on the program date, so they would work with the GEO advisor for Russia if that's the case. We connect students if they want to fly together, but for traditional study abroad for NUterm, you do book your own flights.
Okay. Questioning about our dining halls during the summer.
Yes, typically one of the residential dining halls will be open. They, to my knowledge, have not made that determination yet. But so those 3 halls are International Village, Stetson East, and Stetson West. And it's usually determined based on upgrades and other work that will be happening in those that will be determined to be closed. So that will be announced closer to the summer.
Nora, I'm not sure. Course selection, do they meet with their advisors to choose their classes, and how does that work?
At least for, I guess I'll talk a little separately. For dialogue courses, it's just Northeastern classes, so you wouldn't have to do any course selection. But for a summer study abroad experience, there's basically a twofold approach where a student would need to work with their academic advisor to determine which courses would be best to take during NUterm. And then we have it set up, and any GEO advisor can support a student in this. It's through their My Northeastern portal. They basically submit classes they want to take, and then their advisor would approve them through the system. That's one piece of course selection. And then an additional piece is if you're trying to identify which courses to take abroad, you would speak to the GEO advisor for that country, and we can go over like the host university course offerings. So one thing that is just kind of like an exercise in working with international constituents is that the courses are subject to change at any host university. So we publish some initial lists, and then it would be up to the host university to determine their final course offerings.
And
sorry,
Susan, if you're asking about course registration for on-campus courses, then yes, that student would meet with their academic advisor, not a geo advisor, to discuss similarly, what classes they should be taking to maximize that new term experience. And so the academic advisors can talk them through that registration process.
Will, once courses do fill up here on campus, do they add additional ones, or would they have to seek an alternative elective?
Their academic advisor would really be the best resource that they have in terms of questions about registration. However, even if there isn't an additional course added, we always strongly recommend that students monitor the number of students that are in class over time, as students will periodically make adjustments to their schedule as they discover that, for instance, they may have other separate plans, like a summer job that comes up, and they may drop those courses, leaving seats available after registration has opened. So, of course, if a student is looking for a particular course with a particular instructor, or at a particular course in a particular time, such as new term, it's always worth monitoring that at least once a week so that they can see if any seats have opened up, but their academic advisor will be able to answer any other questions they have about enrolling in classes for new term.
And the first day of classes for summer 1 is May
6th, if that's the Monday.
And I believe that the timeline changes for dialogues depending on the
Yeah, it
particular
varies by each program. You can see the dates on each dialogue program page on our website, as well as the flight itinerary too.
Robin, you spoke about this, that you have some housing available if they need it for a few days or weeks. Someone's asking if their student departs like June 30th for dialogue. Is there somewhere that they can have housing in that time frame before?
Yes. So if a dialogue departs June 30th, and there's kind of two things here. They may be participating in summer 1 and then departing for a dialogue, in which case they would sign up for summer 1 housing and live, if they're a first-year student in new term, and then participate on a dialogue, where they would only need housing for those few days between the end of new term and the departure for their dialogue. And so they may need to move to consolidation housing for that period of time, or we may be able to allow them to stay in their current space depending on, the exact departure date and time. The other option would be if they're not participating in new term or summer 1, and they would just need somewhere to stay perhaps the night before their flight, and they could sign up for consolidation housing for that as well, although we often don't necessarily, it's not that we discourage it, but logistically would want to make sure that that's the right choice for your student, for needing to come here. And, we don't provide linens for that type, so come here, make a bed, stay one night, pack it all up, get on a flight the next day. There may be other travel arrangements that might make more sense logistically for you and your student.
Okay. We have a disability resource center on campus, and someone is asking, is that available during the summertime? Yes, our disability resource center is open year-round, so if you need to contact them, they will be here during the summer. Nora, must a student take 8 credits? Is there any way around that, or is it just 8 is the limit?
8 is required on a dialogue, but no, for a traditional study abroad program, it's not every program, but then some programs you can take 1 course. A big difference is that at each international university, there's a unique credit conversion. So, for example, at some universities abroad, a course might be only equivalent to a 3-credit Northeastern course. So in that case, you would earn 6 credits total. You do need to maintain a minimum of 6 credits, and Brock can speak better to this, for federal financial aid. So if you drop down to 4 credits, for example, and just took 1 course, that would be something to think about, but it is an option at some universities.
And just to touch further upon that, there is a certain minimum expectation of enrollment based on the requirements that have been set forward by the Department of Education or various state departments of education in terms of qualifying for different types of federal and state financial aid. But whatever your enrollment in a semester, Northeastern will award its own institutional aid in proportion with the number of credits that you are taking. whether experiencing or rather engaging in an international experience or domestic experience. So whether going on a traditional study abroad during the summer new term session or on campus taking 4 credits, you would expect to receive 1/4 of your normal semesterly Northeastern University grant or scholarship funding, while other types of federal or state financial aid would not be guaranteed for that level of enrollment. But any particular questions you have on that subject would be best addressed with your financial aid counselor. One final note is if enrolling in under 8 credits for a summer session, you should have a discussion with your academic advisor about the requirement to submit a petition to reduce load for being enrolled for less than what we would consider full-time enrollment for that particular experience.
And one other note on housing, if you do follow all of those steps and your student is taking that reduced load on campus, then they would not be required to live in housing. So we only require that if they are doing that full-time 8-credit course load.
Oh, okay, that's good to know. We talked about a dialogue that's going to be taking place in Russia. Do you happen to know the dates of that yet? Has it been announced?
I don't know the dates off the top of my head for that particular program, but I will say we have posted pretty much all flight itineraries on the website. So if you go to northeastern.edu/geo and just do a search for Russia, if you find the dialogue of your student, it should populate, and if not, there's a contact which will provide the geo advisor who can get that to you right away.
Okay. Robin, some more questions on housing. Number one, the date of move out for the spring semester.
The spring move out is 24 hours after their last final exam or by 7 p.m. on Friday, April 26th, whichever comes first.
Someone's asking, did they hear correctly that the deadline to apply for dialogue course has passed?
Yeah, so unfortunately with the timing of this webinar, it is a bit retroactive, but yes, so the final deadline, we did have some programs open until February 15th, which has passed. So there are some students, I believe, that are still on a wait list, and most of those will be finalized any day now, but no future students can just openly apply. It would be a case-by-case basis based on any student withdrawals or wait list changes.
Did you want to add something, Bob?
I was going to say, if there's a particular dialogue that your student is interested in, just because they're not engaging in it during this new term doesn't mean that they may not be able to fit it in future summer sessions.
Correct.
So they should, if they have their eye on a particular experience, keep in mind that application deadline for next year and speak with their academic advisor about whether that will fit in their cycle of courses as they continue on through their time here at Northeastern.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for that, yeah.
So we have a parent saying that their daughter has already been accepted into a dialogue. When do they find out what the fees are for that?
So all the fees are posted, so congratulations to your daughter. That's exciting. If you go to the same webpage that I've been referring to, each program page, if you search by your daughter's program, you scroll down to the cost, it would be Northeastern tuition for 8 credits, and then they include the fee, which is unique to each program. And dialogue fees range anywhere from $500 to $3,500.
Thank you.
And just touching on that final point about the amount due, again, the bills for new term will go out in mid-April, so you can expect to see a finalized bill with the fees mentioned for either a dialogue or on-campus experience in mid-April for your student.
Okay, so if a student does not enroll in new term courses this summer but is doing an internship, can they still live on campus? And if so, could it be International Village?
Yes, if a student is participating in an internship, perhaps in research that's not for credit, they can still live in university housing, and if they are a current first-year student, it would be in International Village as well. And what they should do, so we find out about students who need housing for new term in 2 ways. First, by students submitting that housing application, which is available now in Housing Online. And the second is we receive reports of first-year students who are registered for classes. And so if your student is participating in an internship or a research opportunity that's not for credit, we wouldn't know that they need housing unless they submit that application, because they're not going to show up on any university course registration list. So for your student, it would be especially important that they submit that that application prior to that April 3rd priority deadline so that we know that they are interested in housing. And then they are likely to receive from us communication that says, you have signed up for NUterm housing, but our records do not indicate that you're registered. Are you sure that you want housing for summer 1 NUterm? And then they would just need to let us know, yes, I do need housing, because sometimes students forget to cancel that if they have changed their plan. So they should expect to hear from us, and that's totally fine. They would just need to reply and let us know why they're staying.
And they apply for housing on the student portal?
In Housing Online, which is accessible through their My Northeastern portal. It's the same way they would have completed their housing applications for next fall and spring, the same way they're accessing all of the other housing forms and information.
I would imagine, too, that they still have the opportunity to rent their micro fridge, or can they rent them in the summer for IND?
Yes. I believe that micro fridge rentals are available for summer 1, and that information is available on the vendor page. If your student already has a micro fridge, they should contact that vendor if you're interested in moving it over to International Village and extending that lease.
Okay. Here's a question. Many internships don't pay but say they are offered credit. How does students pursue that? Do they have to pay NU for the credits if they do an internship? I don't think that's the case.
Well, I can speak specifically to study abroad. Yeah. So we do have universities, for example, I advise for University of Sydney, and students can go and take a 4-credit course where they intern in Australia. But because they're enrolled in a 4-credit course, it's an unpaid internship, and they do pay tuition in the same manner as any type of course. But then they do get that great experience. So we have a lot of first-year students doing that type of class, and those type of classes are offered at many different locations internationally. But if you are going to be earning credit, you would pay Northeastern tuition for that credit.
That would be largely the same if you were enrolled in a 4-credit internship domestically. Anytime you will be receiving Northeastern University credit progressing towards your degree, you can expect to pay Northeastern University tuition. Typically, internships are only offered as credit for 1 course or less, so you may want to have a particular discussion with your academic advisor about the equivalency of that internship, and they'll be able to help guide you in terms of determining how many credits that internship will be worth, if any, and what you would be expected to pay based on that level of enrollment. And again, keep in mind that if you were enrolled for less than 8 credits during a summer session, you will want to submit that petition to reduce load in order to not be billed full-time Northeastern University tuition for a half semester, so half a semester of tuition.
So we mentioned earlier that there's a lot of activities that are planned for students, like maybe a Red Sox game and things to do in Boston. If a student is doing an online course and one in person, can they still take part in those activities?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so we have time for 1 or 2 more questions, and then I'll give it a few minutes to see if anyone has another question. A parent is asking, do students move themselves in, or is it better for a parent to help?
That really depends on the student. Every time, so something to learn about housing here, if your student ever stays for summer, this particular talk, we're talking about NUterm, which is summer 1 for your first-year students. As Brock mentioned earlier, there are going to likely be times in their future that they stay here for a summer 1 or a summer 2. Often once they get a co-op, if those are 6-month co-ops, they automatically extend into one of those summer terms. And because we have so many residential halls, not all of them stay open for the summer. So it's common that students will live somewhere different for the summer than they live in the academic year. And so our students tend to become very savvy with their ability to move their things. Usually once they do it once or twice, they really realize what they are, having in their residential space. So we always have moving bins available to assist them in their move. Some students and families prefer to have someone come and assist them with that, and many other students are totally fine doing that on their own and with the assistance of their peers. Keep in mind they're not the only student moving at this time. Lots of other students are as well, so they'll often help each other. So that's really a personal choice that you and your student can make.
So, Brock, if a student files a petition for a lower, just to only take 1 course, for instance, how does that affect their package of aid?
Certainly. So the petition to reduce load itself doesn't guarantee any type of aid. It's simply letting the registrar's office know that you are currently enrolled as less than full-time for the given term. For the case of new term or summer 2, you would file the petition to reduce load through your My Northeastern under Services and Links. It would be under the registrar's office box. That would allow you to be billed prorated tuition based on the number of credits that you are taking. As I stated earlier, for institutional aid like the Northeastern University grant or your scholarship, you can expect to be awarded in proportion with the number of credits you are taking. So for 4 credits, you would receive 1/4 of your normally semesterly amount of Northeastern University grant or scholarship funding. Federal aid and state aid would have to follow the particular regulations set forward by the relevant body, either the Department of Education or whatever state-level equivalent there is for that type of funding based on the state you are from. If you have particular questions about your financial aid package, I encourage you to discuss that with your financial aid counselor. You can identify your financial aid counselor on our website by looking under the Contact Us drop-down and following the counselor lookup tools, either by inputting the student's NUID or by reviewing their counselor on the alpha split below.
Thank you. I do want to thank all of our presenters today. It really was exciting to learn about the different opportunities that are available to students this summer, which we're only weeks away now, so we're all looking forward to that. And I want to thank everyone for attending today's session. For more information on new term, or if you have a question that remained that we didn't get to, please feel free to email parents@northeastern.edu, and we will be sure to answer your question for you. Shortly, you'll be asked to complete a brief survey to provide feedback on today's session, as well as share any suggested future topics. Also note that within the next week, you'll receive an email with a recording of this webinar. You can also find recordings of our past Tuesday talks on our website, northeastern.edu/parents. And our next webinar, so save the date, will be March 12th from 7 to 8 p.m., and our topic will be Commencement 2019. So again, thank you, everyone. Please take a moment to fill out our survey. We really do appreciate it, and have a good day.